Okay, good evening once again. I am Cherie Lawal Price. I'm here on behalf of Unity National Bank out of the headquarters, Houston, Texas. In about 2 minutes, we're going to get started, so if I can ask the panelists to come towards the front. Also, Mr. Lewis, Mrs. Kubra, so we can go ahead and get started. We want to be mindful of the time. So again, thank you all for being here, and I hope you enjoy the workshop.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Fantastic. Thank you all so much for coming. You never know how these things are going to turn out, and by your presence here today, I would say that we've got the right people in the room, and we've got a successful event. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and be with us today. I'm Chuck Lewis. I'm Market President for Unity National Bank here in the state of Georgia. And so I've been with the bank about a year, loving it. The bank is about 59 years old. Well, actually, it was 59 years old on Tuesday, the 16th. And so now the bank is preparing for its 60th year anniversary. So you might say this is a start of a year-long kickoff for Unity National Bank as it turns 60. So again, thank you all for coming. We certainly appreciate it. A little bit about Unity National Bank. Unity National Bank, again, is 59 years old. The bank has experienced significant growth. It grew from $92 million in 2019 to $250 million. So that's 2.5 times the size in a very relatively short period of time. However, that doesn't mean that we're done growing, because we're not. The bank has had some very good strategic capital partners that have come in to support the bank. We have JPM Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Amergy Bank, and Cadence Bank. So all of those are now shareholders of Unity National Bank. And the whole goal is to increase the size of a small community African-American owned bank to a point where it can start doing larger and larger size loans. And also the investment supports the stabilization to make sure this bank is going to be around. And that's why I came. I came because the bank had capital to put out on the street, needed new faces to do it. And so I was very happy to sign on and come on board, and glad to have all of you here with us today. I want to acknowledge our elected officials that are in attendance. Mr. Rob Pitts, Chairman of Fulton County. Mr. Joe Karn, Councilman, City of College Park. And I especially want to thank the City of East Point that opened its doors to us and allowed us to have this event here in their sacred City Hall chambers. So they felt it was a pretty big deal, and so I'm glad that you came, because we feel like it's a pretty big deal too. And so they're one of our sponsors. Also, hopefully you had enjoyed the food that was provided to us by Chef Garvin. He's a celebrity chef, television guy. So thank you, Chef Garvin, for your support. And also we have a Bridge by City. Rohit Mathur is with us, and they're one of our sponsors. You'll hear from him when we reach the panel portion of our discussion. And we also have the developer, MindMatch, Excel Lewis. Excel is going to come up, and he's going to talk a little bit about his project, the East Point Commons, which is occurring as we speak right across the street. So he's developing downtown East Point, or redeveloping downtown East Point. So he's going to come and make you, fill you in on that particular project. That project is going to open up some opportunities for businesses to locate their businesses there. It's going to give an opportunity for new residents to come into the marketplace. And I don't want to steal all of his thunder, but it's going to be a really nice supermarket there too. So I'm going to let him tell you about all of that stuff. To my fellow colleagues that are here from visiting from other banks, Wells Fargo, Andrew Shannon, and from Grand Bridge, which is a division of Truist, Donald Billingsley. So I want to definitely thank them. The staff, Unity Bank staff that are present. Carlos Robinson, of course, is on our panel. Cuba Lawal, of course, who put all of this together. Raise your hand. She's always shy, believe it or not. Antoniette Brown, who holds us all together at the office. I think she may be outside. Hazel Solomon, also, same thing. She's there in our office here in Atlanta, as well as Steve Burke, who couldn't be with us. He had an emergency. John Hayes, who was going to be here, but he also had an emergency. We have visiting from Houston out of our corporate office, Cherie Lowell Price. And we also have visiting from Maryland. I almost said New York. From Maryland, Gina Nesbitt. So Gina, raise your hand. Thank you for coming and providing us with much needed support. Okay, I'm going to shift gears now, and I am going to introduce Excel Lewis, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the East Point Commons project and My Match.
I love it. I love it. I just, you know, I always say this when I start, but the city of East Point just feels like family. So we're really grateful for you all coming out today to be a part of this event. I want to thank Chuck and Kubra and Cherie and all the wonderful individuals at Unity National Bank. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank the city of East Point and all of the wonderful individuals, including the mayor and council at the city of East Point, for all of the wonderful work that they do and continue to do to ensure the ultimate success of the city of East Point. So kudos to all of you all for working together and making not only this event, but the city of East Point a great place to live, learn, work, and play. So just a little bit about myself. I can be long-winded, so somebody hold their hand up if I'm going too long. All right. So my name is Excel Lewis III, and I'm the chairman and CEO of My Match Development Group. We responded to an RFP in respect to the East Point Commons development opportunity, which is right across the street. It's a 9-acre parcel of land. We were awarded at the end of last year an opportunity to be the master developer on this wonderful development opportunity. Joined with us, not only on the proposal, but in terms of partnership on this wonderful development opportunity, is Choke Construction. We have Core Rep. Eric, if you could stand. Eric is the managing partner of Core Rep, and Eric has been integral in seeing that businesses locate in the city of East Point, and it's a nice connection point to the reasoning for the event tonight. And Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly is serving as our project manager on the development team, as well as the financial structuring. So full development opportunity will be comprised of about 1,500 individuals working in the city of East Point, and I think that deserves a hand. So just a little bit about this development opportunity, and I'm just so stoked about it. It's a 9-acre parcel of land. We're going to add a lot of density to that 9-acre parcel downtown in this great city of East Point. That's about 7 minutes away from Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, and as you all know, about 5 minutes away from Tyler Perry Studios. Just a premium space of land for the residents of this great city of East Point. So included in the development opportunity, we've passed a conceptual design plan and a master plan that speaks to just over 79,000 square feet of commercial space, over 300 apartments, both 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. So we're adding a lot of density in the first and the second phase. We're addressing things like the food desert by engaging grocery store elements at about 30,000 square feet, healthcare, in addition to additional retail and commercial space. The final phase of the development is slated for sale townhomes. So in the master plan, you'll see about 26 townhomes. So we're really excited about the development opportunity. I'm going to stop because I could go on for days, and I'll lend way to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Excel. Thanks for bringing us that good message about future development. Development is always at the core of business, and growth is what we all try to achieve. And what we plan to do today is to help you achieve your goals and to help you grow by obtaining bank financing. One of the issues that we have seen is that a lot of people have a difficult time in getting through the loan application process. And because they aren't prepared. And so the thing that we want to do with you today is to help prepare you and let you know where you can go to get resources out before you come to the bank, so that when you come to us, it becomes a much better process and it doesn't take as long. People, oftentimes you hear people talk about SBA loans, and SBA loans take a long time. No, they really don't. What takes a long time is for people to get the information to the bank. So when you hear people complaining about, I went to the bank and they just give me all this paperwork, so I went online and I went to a fintech company. But what we're seeing is that when you do that, yeah, it's less paperwork. You don't have to go through all of that. That's one of our competitions. But you're going to end up with very unfavorable terms. And right now we're working to get people out of some of those arrangements. So we don't want that to ever begin. We want to cut it off before it even starts. And that's why we're reaching out to the community to provide this information so that you can not only take it back and gain some information yourself and learn some of the techniques and things that we're going to teach you today, but also so that you can tell others, these are the places you can go get the resources, and this is the bank that helped me. And so we want to be that resource for you. And so with that being said, I am going to introduce Roy Johnson. Roy Johnson, I've known for a long time. He's a fellow alumni of Morehouse College, like myself. He's also a veteran in the banking industry, longer than myself. He's a little older than me. He's a good golfer and a good friend, and he's going to lead our discussion from this point forward. Roy?
First of all, I'd like to say to Chuck, thank you for covering me about my golf. I'm a terrible golfer. Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank you for being here tonight to learn the process of obtaining an application and to get a loan approval. The process, as Chuck said, is not that difficult. But what it takes is some preparation for you or by you in order to get this thing done. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of what we do, what you need, and some of the pet peeves that we see. There's one particular pet peeve that you will see at the end of this presentation. But let me just say this too. It's important to have a relationship with your bank. I tell people that all the time. They just go to a bank, people have never seen them before, and I said, go work the bank. Let them get to know you so that when you come in, you're not a stranger. Short story, my late wife, I dated her for 5 years, and then we got married. She asked me, why did it take 5 years? I said, I wanted to make certain that the relationship would work. So that's the same way with your bank. Court your bank and make certain that you make it work. So let's get started. Getting approved, a business loan workshop. The first thing you do is ask for an application. Now, when you ask for that application, you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared to work through the whole thing and provide all the information that's needed. I recommend a lot of times that people go to the bank and get their checklist of the information that's needed prior to making an application. That way you won't be blindsided and you know what to bring to the party. So Okay. The application. Why is it important? This is for us to be able to get to know you, to know whether or not you have, or whether or not you are credit worthy. And it answers three major questions: who, what, where. The first thing, the legal name and trade names. We'd like to know the actual name of the business. You know, I could have Roy's Hamburger Shop, but that might not be the legal name of my business. The legal name of my business might be J&J Enterprises doing business as Roy's Hamburger Shop. So we need to know that information so that when we make the loan to you, we are making it to the right institution. The next one is state organization. Atlanta is an international city. There are several businesses that operate in the state of Georgia that are from outside. So we need to know that information. We need to know where you were incorporated. We need to know whether or not you have a LLC or corporation. We need to know whether or not it's an S corporation. So if you could provide all that information to us, it is greatly needed. The next one, ownership. Ownership, 10%. Anybody that owns 10% of that business, we need to know, because we are probably going to ask them for some information also. There's plenty of people who have come to the bank, want to make a loan. They only own 50% of the business. There's another 50% out there. They cannot legally obligate the business as a 50% owner. They need the other 50%, so we need to know. We need to know the principal location. You can have a manufacturing plant, you can have an office in one location and your manufacturing plant in another location. We need to know where the office is, because that's usually where the chief executive officer is. But we also need to know where the manufacturing plant is also, because 9 times out of 10, if we are taking some collateral, it's going to either be on that particular building or the equipment in that manufacturing building. So we need to know exactly where you're located. The next one is the states authorized to operate or a foreign entity. I addressed that earlier. It could be a foreign entity. We do have people who have operated here in Georgia who have companies from out of the country. I can remember one that I had. They were from Australia, but they did business here in Georgia, and we made loans to them. But we had to make certain that we had everything in place because they were a foreign entity. Luckily, the loan was a very good loan, and they paid it back, no problem. Location of entities' assets, I think I addressed that already. When I said that you had your manufacturing plant, that's where you would have your information. We'd like to know who the key officers are. We'd like to know who is the CEO, the COO, and any senior management. That's very important. We also like to know who are the decision makers in the company. We also like to know whether or not you have a board of directors. And if you do, if they gave you authorization to handle this application or apply for a loan. And we need to know just the information about them. We don't necessarily have to have them on the loan, but we like to know who's on the board of operation. We like to know your legal counsel. The reason we like to have the name of the legal counsel is to see whether or not you have any legal action going on. And we check with them to make certain. Also to make certain that they have applied for your business license and other things appropriately, or incorporated you appropriately. Your accountant, this is one of the most important people that you need to have, is an accountant. They will keep you straight. They will. Did it go out? It's on there. Okay. I think I might have kicked it. Okay. But your accountant is very important to you. They can guide you through the ups and downs of your business cycles. They can give you some recommendations, and they can keep you from having tax problems. That's the key thing. Okay. Items required for commercial lending. Now, this is where you have to do your homework. We like to know your product and your service. We'd like to know how your particular product or service is different from anybody else that you compete against. A good example, here in Atlanta, those of you who have been here a while, you know that we can have, some people believe that the best hot dogs in Atlanta are at the Varsity. But then there are others that believe that there's Nathan's and some others. So tell us why your particular product is better than the other product. Now, one thing you can say is if you were competing against the Varsity only has a few locations. It's a large location, but they only have a few. You can have multiple locations, just like a Subway. You almost see a Subway on every corner. So just tell us why your company is different than the others. We'd like to know whether or not you have a business plan. The business plan is your guide. You've heard the adage, if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. So those who are already in business, you should already have had a business plan, and you look at it from time to time to keep yourself on the straight and narrow. For those who are starting out, you really need to think it through, as they say, from soup to nuts. So you have a business plan, so you'll be able to communicate with your banker, be able to communicate with your accountant, be able to communicate with your lawyer, and be able to communicate with your insurance provider. Then it's the financial information we need. We like a minimum, if you're in business, of 3 years of balance sheets and income statements. And the reason we like to have 3 years is because we're looking at trend analysis. We're looking to see whether or not your business is increasing, whether it's stagnant, or whether it's decreasing. Also, in this particular market that we just had with the COVID, we can see that if we had 19, 20, and 21, we can see where you were pretty good in 19, and then see the slide in 20 and 21. As COVID was in full effect at that time. And we would understand that story. We probably asked for some financials that are a little bit older, just to make certain that the trend was going up at that time, and then COVID came in. That's the purpose of the government providing these small companies with PPP loans, because they were aware that that was something unusual. We also like to have a minimum 3 years of reconciliation of your net worth. We want to know whether or not you're keeping the funds in the business, whether or not you're paying out dividends, whether or not you're just taking the money and draining the company. So we like to have that information. We like to have a minimum 3-year statements of cash flow. And if you have an accountant, when they prepare your financials, especially your annual financials, they can prepare that for you. That will show the cash flow analysis so that we can go through it and make certain that you have the ability to repay the loan. You'd be surprised. A lot of times companies show a profit and you think that they could pay you back. But I tell everybody, I have yet, and I don't believe anybody on this panel or anywhere has been paid from profits. We're paid from cash flow. That's the lifeblood of your company. We like to have tax returns for the last 3 years also. And we compare that to the financial statements that you give us. We want the 1120s, which is the income statements for corporations, S corporations, LLCs. You have the 1065s for partnerships, the 990s for nonprofit organizations. Schedule C is for a sole proprietor. So if you just have a business and you're the only owner, you probably will do your tax returns with your 1040, but you have a Schedule C, which shows your profit and loss. so that we can analyze that. Then you have your Schedule L, which is the balance sheet for the 1120s. And then you have your Schedule M, which is the reconciliation of your net worth. So if you could provide that information to us, that's greatly appreciated. That way we can move your application along rapidly. One of the things that we see, and this is to me a small item for you, but it's a big item for the bank. Personal financial statements. Most people just throw some numbers down on a personal financial statement. That slows everything down. Later on in the presentation, we're going to have an example of a personal financial statement and the way you should approach it. It's really not that difficult. It's just a matter of gathering information and applying it properly. Additional things that we might ask for is aging schedules for your receivables. If you have net terms of 30 days, net 30, we like to look and see and run a ratio on it to see whether or not you're meeting that. It could be less than 30, which is excellent. If it's over 30, then it might be a little bit of a concern, and we might have to talk about what's going on here. You might have some stale dated accounts receivable, some that you probably should write off or put in collections. Same thing with your inventory. You might have inventory that doesn't turn over rapidly enough, and you should inquire as to why that's not happening. You don't want your inventory to get stale. You want it to be able to turn and generate sales. We ask for the inventory listing, and the reason we ask for that is also just to see the aging on it. Okay, the aging. We looked at fixed assets and depreciation schedule. The reason we look at that is because a lot of times that's going to be the collateral underlying on the loan, and we want to make certain that you have adequate collateral. It's not obsolete. This includes vehicles, equipment, and buildings. We'll like a detailed cost of your expenses, and that's self-explanatory. Basically, that's on your income statement. We'd like to see your sales backlog if you have one. If you have contracts, we'd like to look at those, particularly if you have some with major companies. Going back to what I was saying about a trend analysis, I've had customers before who have had one particular big customer, and then they lost that customer, and you can see the effect. So we like to look at the contracts and see from time to time whether or not you have someone that's just one big purchaser of your products and services. We also like the details of collateral, which I talked about before. Then, this is where the bank does its magic. This is when the financial part of lending comes into play. You probably don't want to know all about it, but we look at your liquidity, we look at your leverage, and your leverage is basically your debt to equity. We want to make certain that you're not too highly levered, that you have more debt, a lot more debt than you do your equity in the business. When you start up a startup, you will probably have that particular position, but as you mature, it's going to reduce the debt, and your equity will be increasing. We also like to look at your asset management, and the reason we look at your asset management is that we want to make certain that you are managing your assets where they're working efficiently, to where you're getting your sales and getting them out there, collecting them, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. You don't want to be behind the 8 ball to your competitors if you're not working your assets efficiently. We look at your operations, we look at your cash flow, your collateral, and then the next one is character. And people say, how do you judge people's character? Well, the way you judge people's character is about a couple of things. One, for how they handle business on an everyday basis. Another is we look at credit reports. And credit reports has a thing called the FICO score. And we look at your FICO score. And the reason that's important is because We would like to know whether or not you have the desire to pay. Some people like to have their cake and eat it too. And I would like to stress that, in that I've had several clients to come in and they don't show much as far as business goes, but they tell me, but I got all these assets. You know, you can lend it to me because I have all these assets. I can't do that. I have to go by what the numbers say. And that's what most banks have to do. We have to go by what the numbers say. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. So that's a major thing. Another thing also is, are you willing to guarantee the loan? We get a lot of pushback on guarantees. But let me just use this story. You've heard the story of a breakfast of eggs and bacon. Well, when you look at it, the chicken just contributed, but the hog was totally committed. Well, you're asking us to be totally committed while you're only making a contribution. So personal guarantees are common things when you asking for a loan. So don't fight it, because as your business grows, we'll probably release you from that. But you need to know that that's probably something that's going to be required. Conditions. Conditions is macroeconomics, basically. A good example of that is you tell me that you're going to open up a neighborhood store, but 2 blocks away is a Walmart. Do I think that that's going to be a competitive advantage for you? I don't think so. I tell you that you might have to look somewhere else or maybe think of something else. But that's what we are talking about when we talk about the conditions. Again, we want the description of the collateral. When you're talking about commercial real estate, we like to have an appraisal. We like to have a current appraisal. We like to have it done based on sales, income, and sales approach. We like to know the amount of the appraisal, and then we look at loan to value. No one lends 100% on real estate. Most banks, when they're looking at commercial real estate, they're going to lend somewhere between 75 and 80%. If you use a SBA 7A, it's 75% plus a 75% guarantee. There is a program that you can use called the SBA 504, where you only have to come up with 10%. The Commercial Development Corporation comes up with 40%, and the bank comes up with 50%. It's a great deal for everybody, and it's especially good for the banks because we only have a 50% exposure on a deal. Then we look at market data and feasibility. That's pretty much self-explanatory. We look at the repayment source. We look at the guarantee analysis, account relationships. The general contractor, we like to look at the general contractor and make certain that they are licensed and bonded to be able to do the job. We like to see some of the jobs that they've done. You can't go get your brother to be the contractor if you get ready to build a business, build a building for your business. We'd like to see someone that actually has experience doing it. Then we look at your strengths and weaknesses of the total project. Then we look at the hard costs. This is for development loans. We look at your hard costs, which are the land costs, the grading and landscaping, road, sewer, and water, and electrical service. After that, we look at your repayment analysis. We look at the average loan per sellable acre. So if you're doing a subdivision, you plot out your plans of how many lots you're going to have in there. And then we look at what the loan amount is per acre that you're requesting. Then there's the release price, which is a price where when you sell the lot, you pay us back a certain percentage of the sale. It's usually the cost plus some other percentage. If it was a $75,000 release price and the loan is $50,000 on that particular lot, we might ask you to pay us back $65,000 to $70,000 back on each lot release. That way you pay us back quicker, and then the rest of it you'll be able to fund on your own. When we look at again, income producing property, we like to look at the project description, the project summary. We also like to look at the number of units that you're planning to build, if you're going to build them. We like to know the types of units, the size of the unit, the total square footage, the monthly rents, and the annual rents, to see whether or not that is a viable piece of property. For income-producing properties, non-construction, we look at the pro forma income and analysis. We look at the potential gross income, less vacancies, because it's not going to always be 100% occupied, so we come up with a figure that's less the vacancies. Then we look at the effective gross income after that. Then we subtract the operating expenses. And then we come up with the net operating income, and then we determine your debt coverage. Personal financial statements. This is the pet peeve that we were talking about. Most people do not fill out the personal financial statement correctly. When you look at a personal financial statement, which we're going to look at in a few minutes, you have the summary sheet is actually the first page. You have a second page, a third page in some cases, and a fourth page in some cases. Those are your schedules. We will ask you to take your information and put it on those schedules. Then you sum it up on the personal financial statement. And what you need to do is pull out your bank statements, no estimates. I've had people sit in the bank and try to fill out a personal financial statement while they're sitting there. That won't fly. You need to know exactly. So you pull out your latest statements for your checking accounts, savings accounts, investment accounts. You got statements for your mortgages, so you can see what's outstanding on your mortgages. You have your credit card statements also that you can refer to. And then once you have all that information, you fill it out. And once you fill that out, then you're able to put it onto the summary sheet. And as I was telling Chuck earlier, one person told me one day, a balance sheet is supposed to balance. And you'd be surprised how many balance sheets we get that don't balance. This is a good example here. This is a schedule of cash. It's blank, but you can see it's asking for certain information, like which bank you have the account with, how much you have there, whether it's obligated one way or the other. This is it completed. You can see the name of the bank, the amount from a statement, a part of the account, and whether or not it's pledged, which it is not pledged, any of those funds. So you see the total amount is $27,551. This is for the mortgage. The first one is their home, and you can see that it's 100% owned. It has a market value of $411,000. The current balance is $387,000. And Coast Bank, Savings Bank has the mortgage, and you can see the payments there. Then they have some income property that's located in Powder Springs, Georgia. You can see the value there, the market value. You see the current balance. So you can see that. And all of this, once you have all this, then you go to the summary sheet. And this is your summary sheet where you plug in your cash to $27,551. You see the homestead real estate, $411,000. You see the real estate other, $363,000, for a total of $801,551 versus the mortgages $387, $535 for the home, $286, $343 for the income property. That gives you total expenses or liabilities of $673,000, net worth of $127.7 thousand, and it comes back to $801,551. This is how simple that is, but you'd be surprised, as I said, how many people can't do that or can't provide us with that information. The other information, you usually have to work with an accountant or with a small business development center or an MBA program that can assist you with this information. I hope that this information is helpful to you. I think it's in your package. And so now we're going to go to the panel discussion.
Yeah, while Ward was talking, I was taking a few notes. Just want to make sure that a few things are clear. If you are located outside of Georgia, if your business is registered outside of Georgia, and if you want to do business in Georgia, you must register as a foreign entity in the state of Georgia. This usually costs, I think, in Georgia is like $650, but you have to register in Georgia as a foreign entity. It would be more than likely the same if you were trying to go outside of the state, unless you're doing internet sales. Liens, before you come to the bank, make sure you have satisfied all liens and all derogatory credit that's on your credit report. You can get your credit report from any one of the credit reporting services, so make sure that you pull that credit report and you work and get it clean as clean as you can before you come to the bank. Our bank policy is a minimum credit score of 625. Typically, you're going to see that number around a 680 to 700 score is more acceptable. So you want to be somewhere in that range on your FICO score. If you have projections, and let's say you have a new startup business or an ongoing business, and you provide us with projections, and we make a credit decision off of your projections, there's just not numbers on a piece of paper. We're going to go back and review it, and we're going to hold you accountable for what you project. So when you project future earnings or future revenue, be conservative, because we are definitely going to hold you accountable for that. And then the last thing I want to leave you with is this. Be very careful of our perception of how you live, your lifestyle. Because if we think that you're just balling out and you're going to ball out with the bank's money, that's not going to work. So we do pay particular attention to your lifestyle. If you're applying for an SBA loan, why would you ride up to the bank in a Bentley? I mean, it just... and these are, I mentioned that, but that's actually a true story. So we do look at lifestyle as a part of that, because we don't want to make the lifestyle, don't want your lifestyle to drain you. So I'll mention that. Okay, now we'll have our panel discussion. It will be led by Mr. Roy Johnson.
I'm doing good. How about you?
What's going on? How you doing? I'm the councilman here. I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you guys want to get to the money, right? I'm the East Point City Councilman Joshua Butler. I do apologize for being late. I see some people that I know, and I know these guys. We banked together. I was a banker with them before. While this is important, and my background is in my training, I was a business banker for Bank of America a lot of years ago, all right? And I did more SBA loans in the state than anyone in Bank of America. And so I'm proud to hold that title. And at the time, when I was doing those loans, the bank that did more SBA loans was OmniBank on Beaufort Highway. And I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was, but you can see what Beaufort Highway looks like today. Omni was an Asian bank, and if you look at the acrylic and the Asian letters, you can see how important access to capital is. And so it's very important that you're here meeting with Unity Bank, a partner in our $100 million development, so that you too can get access to capital. I heard my good friend talk about you don't want to look like you're spending the money, right, in the wrong places. And I was working with a customer today that they paid all their bills in cash. And they have a business, they're looking to get an SBA loan to purchase or refinance their building, and while they may have excellent street credit, they have no credit with the credit bureaus. So I hope that you learn a lot of things here. You need to keep your credit good, have good collateral, and good cash flow. Is that what you guys are going to talk about today? And so money is like water and it moves. And so that's what cash flow is all about. How do you keep that money circulating and make it multiply for you? So I want to thank Excel Lewis for all the good work that you're doing in the city. I do apologize for running in and out, but this was important enough for me to come by my schedule to acknowledge the good deeds that these gentlemen and ladies are doing in our city, to really thank you for taking advantage of this opportunity to learn. And if I can give you one piece of advice besides the 4 C's, is always, always continue to learn. Always continue to learn. I'll share this short story. That same potential client I was talking about, so they have this business, they have this real estate, they've invested over $500,000 into it, they only owe $200,000, they want to refi out, but they don't make any money on their taxes. So Uncle Sam is your partner. A lot of us like to do our taxes for tax sake, but you need to learn to do your taxes for banking sake. Bankers want to see that you make money so they can lend you more. That's the old saying. They only loan you money when you don't need any, right? So make sure you account for your money. And I'm going to say one thing. Business is about making money. Period, point blank. There's no other way to put it. So if you want to open up a coffee shop and you're selling coffee for $1, your rent is $1,500 on top of expenses, are you going to sell 1,500 cups of coffee? Right? So a lot of us have these great ideas about what I want to do, but if it doesn't make money, you're not in business. So you want to be creative, you want to try to catch trends, but you don't want to be trendy. And just sometimes, like my background, I bought a moving company. That's not sexy, but I made a lot of money. When I was a banker, Oceanair was one of my clients, and they were always on overdrafts, right? But this guy who had this roofing company, I always had $250,000 in the bank. So blue-collar businesses make money. So that's enough of my time. I could talk about this all day. Thank you, guys. You're here with experts, and I'm humbled to be here. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Excellent remarks. Now, we're going to hear from the panelists. I will start to my left. LeVar is from the Small Business Development Centers for the University of Georgia. And I'd like for you to tell the people what you actually do.
Thank you, Roy. Really appreciate it.
Yes, Mike.
Good evening, everyone. My name is LeVar Haffney. I'm with the UGA Small Business Development Center at Georgia State University. And what we do is we provide strategic planning or help you with your goal setting for your business, operational consulting, helping you manage your business. We don't do the work for you, but we empower you to do it yourself or hire someone to do it. We also provide marketing consulting, provide financial reporting consulting, work for you. And we provide these at no cost to business owners such as yourselves so that you can scale, you can hire more employees, and actually pay more taxes. Circle go.
I'm sorry. Okay, now we're going to hear from Bridge.
Hi. My name is Rohit Mathur. I'm with Bridge Built. I don't know how many of you have used that in the past, but if you haven't, it's a website, www.bridgebuiltbycity.com. The goal of our website is to connect small and medium-sized business owners in the state of Georgia and around the Southeast to local and regional banks. One of those fantastic banks is obviously Unity Bank, which is represented here today. We have 37 banks on the platform. Really, our goal is for you to enter in information about your business needs, a lot of the stuff that Roy covered about, you know, what is your business plan, where are you located, things of that sort. And then different banks, such as Unity Bank and others, get to look at that information and respond with indicative, non-binding terms. So now you can kind of, you know, sitting in your office, you can look at what different banks are willing to do for you and then pick the bank that you want to work with the best. We've been in operation for almost a year now, actually a little more than a year now. We've had a lot of great success here in Georgia and across the Southeast. And so as you're looking for your business loans, you know, worth checking out, like the SBDC, you know, we are also a free service for business owners like yourselves. And look forward to talking to you guys today.
Okay. Ms. Graham, if you would like to.
Good evening. I'm Sean Graham. I'm sorry he thought I was a male, but sorry to disappoint you. I'm all woman. Thank you for the ladies in the back. I am the Chief Financial Officer for the National Black MBA Association, and most recently I've been appointed as the interim CEO, Black Girls Rock, of the National Black MBA Association. Thank you. And the National Black MBA Association is 52 years old. We have 41 chapters across the country, well over 12,000 members. We provide programming all throughout the year. Our members consist of, you don't have to have your MBA to be a member of this organization. We have programs starting at the high school level through senior level executives. I am responsible for the internal infrastructure of the organization, the financial infrastructure, IT operations, and now that I'm the interim CEO, I just run things.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, you may.
Do you provide services to clients who want to apply for loans?
I do not provide services, but I provide information. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I'm very big on supporting my community. I sit on multiple boards, membership organizations like the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. So I'm very big on mentoring and supporting my community. So I don't provide services personally or professionally, but I am a CPA. Okay.
And now we have Carlos Robinson from Unity Bank, Relationship Manager.
Hello. Okay, yeah. All right, so yeah, my name is Carlos Robinson. I will be more than likely the point of contact if you ever was to contact the bank for a loan. A lot of what I've noticed, what we talk about here, is difficulties with providing documentation for loans. So what I'm going to do is, in a kind of detailed, is go over from the beginning to, you getting to closing, with as much detail as possible, like I mentioned before. All right, so first thing, we got this thing called a discovery call. Have a Zoom call, a phone conversation, and it'll be about your business and your industry specifically, right? We'll go over what's happening in the industry within the local market, where you are positioned within the industry, and how you plan to utilize the bank's financing to put yourself in that future position, which we'll examine in the pro forma of your financial statements. From there, we typically would also have a conversation about your last 3 years of performance financially, and look at those trends like Mr. Johnson mentioned, uptrends, sideways, downward trends, and kind of discuss the particulars in regards to how. Speak up? Oh, okay. I was going to do something funny, but yeah, never mind. So from the last 3 years' performance, we'll look at the year to date. Okay, how did you do from January to now? How things been looking, right? And from there, we'll, like I mentioned earlier, the pro forma. What does the next 3 years look like with your business after obtaining this debt financing? All right. From there, we'll kind of start to think about the structure and the type of products you would be looking for that help you get there, whether it be a term loan, which typically has a principal and interest payment or repayment schedule, or a line of credit. Now, the difference between us determining the two will be looking at your balance sheet, right? Because both products can finance your idea, but typically your term loan means you don't have everything necessarily that you need in regards to current assets and fixed assets on your balance sheet. But we can get you into a line of credit if you do have assets, current assets, and a decent amount of fixed assets on your balance sheet. Those current assets will be accounts receivable, right? Anything that's that we can find some liquidity in fairly quickly, inventory, things like that. We can leverage those things. If you have $500,000 in inventory, we could do a 50% loan to value. So we can give you $250,000, and you can utilize that for whatever your business needs. And it's as well as the fixed income. The fixed assets, which would be equipment and things like that, right? You could have, same example, $500,000 worth of equipment, right? We could do a 75% loan to value on that, and that'll be even more. So that's how we would kind of determine what loan structure you will be eligible for, and we can get you through the quickest. All right, from there, it's kind of like a yes or no. All right, should we move forward, yes or no? And if we're going to move forward, we're going to go forward with the application. So within the application, that's kind of self-explanatory, the business name and all of the things that Mr. Johnson mentioned in the PowerPoint earlier. There'll be a background check and there'll be a credit check. Now, I want to not necessarily talk so much about the score, which is important, but it's also the health of it, right? Because typically bottom line, your credit score only shows how well you manage debt. If you got good debt management skills, you'll be okay, and that's what that shows. And down to the PFS, so it's this trend been going on for the last 10 years, right? Where there's this no personal guarantee. Everybody want to put the car in the business name. They want to put the house in the business name, the apartment and everything else. TikTok, YouTube, all the gurus is talking it, right? And that's cool. That's good. But one thing that they fail to mention usually is how well established their business is. You can get along with no personal guarantee. That's true. But that your business operations and the cash flow have to be strong. If you're able to do that, you'll be fine. All right, then you won't have to necessarily do a personal guarantee. But like mentioned earlier, we want to see you invested in something that you believe in, because you're a stranger to me, but you want me to give you $500,000 because of you having a good idea, right? So we want to kind of be grounded with that approach and connect something to you and give you reason to stay motivated, so that you can continue to take care of your family and things like that. All right. On this personal financial statement, you got the assets and the liabilities, and ultimately your net worth. Right. Now, why net worth is important? Because it shows with the credit score, which is debt management skills. It also shows your investment activity and how well you can also manage your investments. Right. Because the better you manage your investments, the higher your net worth is eventually. All right. So that's why we look at that as well. We have the typical term loan has a maturity of 3 to 5 years, sometimes 7, depending on the business operations, with a 10-year amortization, and that's pretty standard. In regards to commercial real estate, 3 to 5 year balloon terms as well, with between 15 to 25 year amortizations. I don't know if you know what I mean when the difference between terms and amortization. All right, the terms is okay. I'll give you a loan today, and 3 years is due. That's the term aspect of it. The repayment, we stretching it out. When I say 10 years, I'm giving you it's like I'm giving you two different payment schedules, right? One is stretched out for 10 years so that your monthly payments is lower, right? Because if it was 3 years, it would be pretty tight. It'd be a lot of money, depending on the loan amount. So one is for the interest, and one is for the principal as well. The term is for the principal. The interest is for is what the amortization is. Do you understand what I'm saying now? Okay, you get it. Okay. As of right now, we have 2 new products that's rolling out. We have a business credit card, which will allow an employer to issue up to 50 of these credit cards to your team or your employees, however you want to refer to them, with 1% cash back up to $1,000 annually, with a $79 annual charge as well for that one. But for the platinum version, there's no annual fee. And what the card does, it gives you the ability, of course, to manage your transactions and things like that online. And then we have a corporate purchase card, which is the real deal. With limits up to over $5 million if you have that kind of operation. And just to give you a little bit about that, there's a $250 setup fee because it comes with a software that has an interface that gives you all types of abilities to manage and navigate how you run your business and operate with your transactions on a day-to-day basis, with the $25 annual fee per card. And with this one, you can issue an unlimited amount of cards to whoever. Of course, this helps with to improve cash flow, especially for those who deal with net 30s and net 60 type accounts, logistics companies and things like that. Of course, it gives you the ability to control your expenses and things like that. With this card, we can get you approved between 2 or 3 days. You can get approved for this. There's like this underwriting process we still have to go through because of the abilities and the amount of money that you can obtain and utilize with this product or with this card. Now, it's typically for high volume businesses and things like that. So until you get there, just make sure when you approach, just know where you are, and if this would be the best product, because we don't want to end up in a position where we're doing denials and things like that. That's pretty much it from me when it comes to the credit card products and the loan process. Now, I went over our terms earlier. There we go. I can hear myself better. After we decide what loan structure you're going to go into, we start to collect due diligence documents, right? These due diligence documents will be insurances, permits, and things like that, depending on if it's commercial real estate or business, all right? So people tend to get lost in that space too and confused because of the amount of information that is asked for. But I promise I'll try to make that as easy as possible, but not overwhelming at the same time, because usually when I issue this list of documents that I'm going to need, it's like 12 or 13, sometimes 16. And people look at that and be like, oh, man, I'm straight. I'm just going to get back to work and make more money. So the way I go about that is when I issue that list of documents, I kind of walk you through everything. This is what this is for, this is what it means, and this is why we need it. And me giving you the why typically will help you understand in regards to, okay, this is why I should just go ahead and knock it out. because it's not something as foreign to me as it once was before when I just saw it on this list. All right, so after the collection of due diligence documents, it goes into underwriting, where they do this thing called a credit analysis, do the spreads, and then it's interpreted by the underwriter. So the underwriter puts it into a credit memo, we take it to the committee, and there's a yes or no in regards to the loan, all right? And with us, we do ours once a week. So timing is everything. I'm here if you need me. My information is probably everywhere around here, and if not, you can approach me. I'm really personable, and give you my card, and we can get together, set up a meeting, a phone call, in the office, Zoom, it doesn't matter, and I'll help you with your debt financing needs. And I look forward to working with some of you guys.
Thank you, Carlos. Now, I believe some of our panelists was a little bit shy in telling what they actually do. Mr. Hafferty, you mentioned just a little bit, but your particular company represents the University of Georgia, and they provide a lot of free services that a lot of people can use that they do not know that you're there as a resource. So could you tell us a little bit about that? I know for those of you who are starting a business, if you want to get all those things done, like a business plan and the projections and everything, this is a resource right here. And you don't have to pay for it. It's paid for by your taxes. But for those people who already have a business, tell them what you can do for them.
Okay. So I wasn't sure how much time everyone had, so I wanted to be brief. But, you know, we do provide a variety of services that are at no cost. So if you are in the ideation stage or the startup stage, we provide business planning assistance, we provide courses, but we also provide the one-on-one consulting. Now, we do have a process that works, right? You've received a lot of information today regarding lending. It can be overwhelming. But what we want to do is we want to put you on a path to progress. So we'll take you from the business planning stage, creating the projections, helping you set up your accounting systems, understanding financial statements, the why behind the numbers, so that you can have a sophisticated conversation with a lender such as Carlos. So you have a higher probability of obtaining financing. Now, startups are very, very hard to finance, but what we do at the SBDC is we'll put you, again, on a path to progress. Now, you may not be ready for Unity Bank, but we could put you in touch with Bridge by City. We can put you in touch with a community development financial institution who could provide you with a microloan. You obtain that microloan, start to build your business. Once you pay that loan back, now we'll look at your finances and we'll say, you know what? Now you're ready for Unity. We can make that introduction. You could develop that relationship, and now you're in a situation where you can obtain financing and the kind of financing you need to really expand. In addition to that, if you need help with marketing, we can help you with that at no cost. We'll help you develop a marketing plan. We're not going to implement it for you, but again, we're going to empower you so that you know who your customers are, you can have an intelligent conversation with your customers, and you can put yourself in a position to be the go-to business in the industry that you actually operate in. We also provide HR opportunities for you. It's very important. You're not going to be able to run your business on your own. And a lot of us, we didn't start businesses so that we can essentially create a job for ourselves. We want to create something that's going to build enterprise value, so eventually we can sell it, because all of us are going to exit our business, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. So when you build a business that has enterprise value that consists of employees, when you have employees, the business is worth more, right? Because people want to buy an ongoing concern. We help you establish that. We want to help you with your strategy. Who are you? Who do you serve? How do you serve them, right? We want to look at your goals, not only personally, but professionally. We can help you get there. We also want to help you with just developing yourself professionally, because once you're familiar, and we are not accountants and we're not teaching you accounting and we're not providing legal advice, but we want to help you grow as a business owner. We want you to be able to talk to Carlos and other individuals, other stakeholders about your gross margins, net profit, cash flow. A lot of business owners don't know that, but if you could just rattle off those numbers when you're asked, a lender's going to look at you like you're serious, you mean business, because they hear people who have ideas every day, but we want to put you in a position where you're an attractive candidate for financing. So please visit us. Again, we offer these services at no cost. You all pay for these services because you're taxpayers, so we want to give back to you, and we want to make sure that you increase the probability of being successful business owners.
Okay, excuse me, no, I want to hear again from Bridge, and just tell them about how you're an online lender.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to clarify, right, I think first I want to acknowledge something. You're hearing about a lot of sort of tools available to you guys and a lot of resources available with the SBDC and other sources, right? It's really hard being a small business owner, right? So it's important to acknowledge that there's a lot of information out there. You're trying to figure out, financing, marketing, HR, while still trying to run your business, which is kind of the core thing that you're doing, right? So it's really hard to do that. What we've seen in recent years is, the first time that anyone thinks of, I need a loan or I need to, buy something, the first thing we all do now is go online, right? I think 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people would call their friends, call their family, figure out, walk into a bank branch, right? First thing people do today is go online, you go to Google and you say, I need a business loan, right? And you get different loan options when you do that. There are really two big categories of loan options if you think about it. There's an online lender. You've heard a bunch of people talk about them. They can offer you loans pretty quickly. Their terms at times are very high. That's definitely an option worth considering. But the other option, which is what I think a lot of this panel represents, right, are bank loans. And Carlos and Unity Bank and a lot of the sources that the SBDC provides you are really those bank loans, which are meant to be relationship loans. They're going to be with you guys for 5 years, 10 years. You're not sort of borrowing from a website. You're borrowing from an individual. You'll be talking to a Carlos or a Chuck or others, right? What we've tried to do at Bridge is really get that online loan experience, but then connect you to a Carlos, right? We want to bridge the gap between the experience that a website can provide, because at the end of the day, let's be honest, all of us love going online, and sometimes we only have time at 9 o'clock at night, and you can't call Carlos at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So that's the time when you want to go online and get your loan work done. What we've tried to do is give you that opportunity to work on your own time on the internet, but then the final source of that capital is a bank like Unity or the other 36 banks on the platform. And so that's what Bridge Built by Citi does. This is a fully Citi-owned initiative. I work for Citibank. I've been there for 10 years. I've also got Hart Thompson, who's one of my colleagues, who's in the audience, and we're happy to talk to you guys about Bridge after or give you a card and we can kind of connect later. But really, our message to you is, we know it's really hard being a small business owner. We're trying to make it easier to find access to capital by giving you an online source to connect with some of these banks. And again, hopefully that was a little more detail.
I would like to open up the floor and see if anyone has any questions. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to all the panelists. First, I did want to say to Sean, as National MBA, like your man, we're so proud of you. And National MBA is very good for people. I got my first consultant job from National MBA and National Black, so looking forward, I'm going to make this year. As we continue to talk about this, and I appreciate all the information, but if I am a business in its inception or infancy stage that doesn't have 3 years of financials, but I need funding, what can Unity Bank do for me? And is it just establishing a relationship, and we partner with the SBDC? I guess that's the first question. And then how can we become stronger as a smaller, or infancy business instead of a more established, mature business?
Okay. Is it on? Yeah, okay. You would do both. Of course, SBDC, right? They would be able to position you to present a plan that would be, worth going over, that would be, believable, and with the pro forma aspect of it, because that's the hardest thing, the pro forma. I mean, you can go on Google and put, business plan outline, right, and see the different parts of a business plan. But when it comes down to the numbers, right, whether it be retail or service, your cost of goods, fixed and variable cost, where you're going to source these, the suppliers, MOQ, like, what's the minimum, it's a whole lot of, information to gather. And that's where, that organization would help you with that. And from a financing perspective, that's where that personal financial statement comes. That's where the value is, because more than likely you've been in a career doing something to, take care of your ends meet, right? And we would look at that income and see where, if there's any capacity for you to take on any additional debt. And if you are, that's where the possibility of getting a personal loan, right? Or a business loan with a personal guarantee will help you, right? And that's on a micro level or anything up to $100,000, whether it be a term loan with principal and interest payments, or a line of credit, based on some equity you have in something that you're not necessarily using, like people with portfolios, stocks and bonds. Some of you guys got the Robinhood accounts, Webull and all that. We can offer you.
I'd like to add to that, just to minimize some of any potential confusion. So if you're starting out, and the best way that I can describe this is if you're just starting out your business, think of your personal income as your business. So the best way that I can describe this, say if you have a 9-to-5, and if you look at your income as your revenue, look at your expenses that you're paying every single month as your expenses. You get your net profit. That's the equivalent of, your salary, let's say, or your expenses that you're paying as your income statement. Then you've heard them talk about the balance sheet. I will equate the balance sheet. If you look at your personal life, if you're a homeowner, that's an asset. If they talk about fixed assets, anything you own, whether it's your vehicle, that's a fixed asset. Your furniture, that's an asset. If your cash, your retirement accounts, that's an asset. So when you talk about personal financial statements, it's no different than having a business when you look at your personal financials. Whatever you have in your bank account, your savings account, your investment accounts, if somebody owes you money, technically that's an asset, that's a receivable. If your job owes you any money, that's a receivable, that's money that's coming into you. And then on the liability side, you want to think about if you owe a loan. So whether it's a mortgage payable, that's a liability. If you owe any money out, your monthly rent, that's considered a liability, because if you have like a 12-month lease, that's considered a liability. So when you look at your business, try to think of it to minimize some of the confusion that people may have. Look at your personal assets and your liabilities and your expenses as that personal financial statement. And that will clarify a lot of things. So if you're cash heavy, if you're looking at all your investment accounts, you should be able to go to the bank and attempt to get a loan, because they're going to factor in your retirement account, your cash, anything that's liquid. They're going to look at any other assets that you may potentially have, and they're going to compare that against what you possibly owe. So you want to minimize any liabilities that you may have, so that way you can try to be as cash heavy as you could possibly be to try to obtain. Obviously, if you're going for a loan, you're not cash heavy, but if you have anything that has value associated with it, that would be very helpful if you're going in to attempt to get a personal loan, if you're not at the point with your business to try to get a loan. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you. I would also say, just want to piggyback on what Sean said. In the beginning, you're going self-funded. Unless you have friends and family money, you're going to have to use income from your job. Unfortunately, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have to do this on a regular basis, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There aren't any grants for startups. Because if they were out there, I would have gotten all of them, right? But what we want to do, we want to have a conversation. We want to help you build a business plan. A business plan doesn't have to be 50 pages. Who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and how you do it. 3 to 4 pages tops, and then your financial projections. We'll help you with all of that. We'll walk you through that whole path. The most important thing you have to do is get into the marketplace and sell. Once you have one customer, you're in business. Now, how can we replicate that? How can you get 10? How can you get 100? Whether you're doing it virtually, whether you're doing it in person, or whether you're running a hybrid operation. But as soon as you have that business running, you have customers, you're in business. Most important thing, set up your accounting systems. I don't care if you're using QuickBooks Online, Xero, Wave, don't use Excel. Make sure that you have all your financial statements, profit and loss statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. You could pull it from your phone, tablet, PC, laptop, on demand. Once you have that, we can work with you. We can say, listen, you know what, now you're in business, 3-4 months, I want to introduce you to a nonprofit lender. We're going to get you a micro loan. Say you generated $5,000, $10,000 in business, how can we get you a $2,500 loan? Once you get a $2,500 loan from a nonprofit micro lender, you're on the map. Pay it back, now you get a $5,000 loan. You pay that back, $10,000, $20,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We want to get you to the point where you can go to Unity and you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed. It may take 18 months. It may take 3 years. But if you follow the plan, we can get you there. And that's what we're here for.
Thank you. I want to address this to all the panels, persons on the panel. For a small business, in your opinion, what would be the best pension plan for a small business that has under 500 employees?
A pension plan or retirement plan for the employees of small businesses? Very good question. So what we can do is we can introduce you to service providers that provide retirement plan services for small businesses. There are a variety of them. And it really depends on how much money you're willing to put aside, your personal tax situation. In a situation like that, we want to make sure that you have an accountant and or a tax planner. Sometimes your accountant and your tax preparer or planner are different. But it really depends on your goals and how much money you want to contribute to your retirement. It's very important. That's a part of your succession plan. We certainly help with that. We can make introductions to anyone from ADP, which is like the 800-pound gorilla in that space, to smaller companies like Zenefits or Employee Fiduciary. And they can help you establish whether it's a solo 401k for you, whether you want to establish a small group 401k for you and your employees, or some other options that may be available.
Like I said, this is a one-stop shop. It's free to you. You pay for it with your taxes.
Oh, I have a microphone. Thank you.
You won't forget.
You come prepared, you don't have to get prepared. My answer wouldn't be that much different than his in that space because, from an investment plan, retirement plan perspective, I would definitely speak with multiple ones to see what their services are because there's fees associated with that. So whether it's a 401k plan, whether or not they recommend it, they'll provide you with information and recommendations as to how far you are away from retirement. That's going to be important. Whether or not you're going to do any match for those employees. So if you're going to match a percentage, which a lot of employers will do to encourage their employees to go ahead and invest some of those funds pre-tax. So I would definitely recommend speaking to multiple advisors before any decisions are made to see what's in the best interest, because one size does not fit all for the companies, and depending on how far you are away from retirement. It varies. It varies. Yeah, I prefer not to give investment advice because, again, until you know somebody's full situation, I think to provide advice that way would be pretty reckless. So my recommendation would be to speak with multiple people to see what's the best fit for you personally and for your organization.
Okay. All right. So my question around equity financing, but there are two separate questions. So Atlanta is hot right now for tech, right? FinTech, cybersecurity. The traditional banking approach is probably not going to work for that. So is there any interest by Unity at some point, maybe with other partners, to start providing equity financing as opposed to debt financing? So that's the first question. Is that something in the roadmap? Is that something that has been discussed?
Yeah,
because Atlanta is ripe for that.
Yeah, we have something like that right now with Grand Bridge.
Okay.
Depending on what the product is or the commercial real estate development is, we can, Don, right? He's right behind you right there. That's the man to talk to.
Awesome.
And that's mostly for just commercial real estate, right? Yeah, commercial real estate.
Okay.
But you mentioned fintech.
Well, I'm not in fintech. I
or
just know it's
tech.
hot in Atlanta, tech in general.
Tech.
Yeah.
I would say crowdfunding for your
Okay.
equity, or get some type of venture capital. It's still out there.
Okay.
Banks. We just on the debt side.
Okay, so you're not partnering with any of the VCs or PEs or anything?
Not right now. Only in commercial real estate.
Got it. All right, so my second question is about, so if I'm a customer, slightly hypothetical, and I have fixed asset, but it's not a loan. It's funded by the founders. They've provided equity financing to the company. It's on the balance sheet. So if you're looking at that as an underwriter, would it matter whether it's a loan to the company, or would it matter if it's fully the company's asset? It's owned by the company, but the money was funded by the founders of the company.
So if you're the founder of the company, you wouldn't.
It's many founders. It's not just one.
Okay. And you
Yeah.
purchase some assets for the business?
For the business, yes.
But you want to take the Mr.
So,
Oh, no. I thought you was raising your hand.
I'm just trying to determine.
Oh, I thought you was raising your hand.
It's a fixed asset, but
Okay.
it's not a traditional fixed asset that the company went out and got a loan for, right? It was funded by the founders.
So it's unlevered, meaning you don't owe any debt.
Exactly.
All right. So we can utilize that and leverage that to give you financing. We'll use that as to establish the borrowing base.
Got it.
All right. So if it's $500,000, like I mentioned earlier, and we're doing a 50% loan to value,
Okay.
can give you a $250,000 line of credit,
Okay.
interest only.
So can I'd just like to ask a question. The guy that was talking that just left was saying something about one of his clients that bought everything cash. So, I'm sorry. One of his clients that bought everything in cash, and all of a sudden they need loan, and they couldn't get the loan. So, that my question is in relation to that. Can Unity Bank help people that all their lives they just use cash, and finally they find themselves in a position where they need to actually get a loan from the bank? How
Well, one way you can do it is to take that cash and put it into a CD. And we can, I think, 95% loan to value on the CD. What's the CD? Credit deposit. Cash.
Certificate of deposit.
Certificate of deposit, I'm sorry. Certificate of deposit, yeah. You earn interest on it annually as well. Miss, hold on 1 second. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so to your point, just piggybacking on Carlos, is you are pretty much investing your own money into the business. And so what he said was he put over $500,000 in there, and now that the commercial real estate that he purchased, now he only has outstanding or equity of only $200,000. I think that's what I heard. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, a business owner can't, unfortunately, have it both ways. So a couple of recommendations that I have for business owners, small business owners, get a tax strategist. A tax strategist is going to be very important. People think that having an accountant or a CPA, though, that's great. All CPAs, I'm a CPA. I am not a tax guru. You do not want me to do your business taxes. I have a lot of capabilities. I can do, my mama's taxes and my cousins and TT's taxes, but I am not doing any business taxes. That's not my specialty. A lot of CPAs have a niche. Some of them eat, sleep, and drink taxes. So if you have a business, think about there are certain things you don't want to, hold back on. Get a tax strategist in your business. That's going to be very important. Also keep in mind that there's a difference between, early on, the early phase of your business, you may want to get a bookkeeper. Keep in mind that bookkeepers are transactional. They are not necessarily analytical. They may not be able to provide you tax advice. They may not be able to provide you accounting advice. They are there to handle your transactions for you. If you want somebody to be able to analyze your financial statements, get an accountant. Get a tax person for their taxes. Just make sure that that they are subject matter experts in all things taxes and help you to grow your business. So rather than you try to minimize showing your earnings, a tax strategist should be able to help you how to best defer some of those funds, as opposed to you having to show that you're not making money. That's one thing. And when we talk about retained earnings, and most people, the average person do not know what retained earnings are, so let me try to just simplify it. As I stated earlier, your revenue less your expenses is your net income. Your net income, the income statement is a component of the balance sheet. Your balance sheet is your assets, less your liabilities, plus your owner's equity. That net income is a component of the owner's equity section of the balance sheet. So I'll give you an example. Say if your net income was $10,000 year one, $10,000 year two, your retained earnings should be $20,000. That is what's going to show up in the equity section of your balance sheet. Every place there's a debit, there's going to be a credit. So that's all retained earnings are, is just how much more value you're adding to your business. That income statement is a small component of your balance sheet. Your balance sheet will show your true worth of your organization, or even personally. You think about your cash, your assets, your home, your vehicles, your furniture, what you owe out, and the net of that is your net worth. So whatever that net is on your income statement, that $20,000 will go over to that little section of the owner's equity section to show what your net worth is. I saw someone's hand going up. Yes. Okay, so he didn't donate cash. He donated some level of services and food. That would be considered an in-kind donation. So if somebody provides that level of service to your business, that would be considered an in-kind. And you would want to record that on your income statement because there's a value associated with that. Because under normal circumstances, you may have paid about $2,000 for out of your bank account for that $2,000 worth of food that he offered, that's sitting back there right now. But there's a value associated with that, so you want to be you can show an in-kind revenue if you received the food from Chef Garvin. And by the same token, you have to show on your expense side how much you normally would have paid for that value of service.
Last question.
And my question is real simple. I'm on the website, LeVar, just taking a look at some of the courses that are listed as available, but all of them have a cost associated with it. So I'm just wondering if you can tell me exactly where the ones that are cost-free, as far as like business plan, courses, and stuff like that, would be located on the site.
And I sigh because at the onset of the pandemic, what the SBDC did was to offer a lot of these courses at no cost. But beginning earlier this year, a lot of our continuing education now has a cost associated with. Depending on the center, we may offer some courses at no cost. If you sign up for our mailing list, we'll showcase some of our resource partners that offer courses that are almost exactly like what we offer at no cost. If you reach out to me, I can let you know where I'm presenting at no cost, because I give presentations to business associations, community improvement districts, and other resource partners throughout Fulton County, well, throughout the entire metropolitan area. So if you don't see anything on our website that's at no cost, I can certainly find the resources for you to provide you with that information.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to all of our panelists. We certainly appreciate your enlightenment in terms of the credit process. We'll stick around for a few minutes after we're done. So if you want to ask any of the panelists questions, or myself or any member from the bank team, feel free to do so. But again, thank you so much for coming out. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you, Janisa Elias, for allowing us to come into your home. And if you want to say something, feel free. You can close us out. Come on.
Good evening. My name is Janisa Elias, and I am the Deputy City Manager for the City of East Point. I want to extend a big thank you to Excel Lewis and Eric Harris and Spencer Skinner of the Mind Match Development Team. I believe over the last year and a half, the City of East Point and Mind Match are truly building a really good partnership to redevelop what is going to be probably the largest publicly owned economic development project that the City of East Point has actually endeavored to pursue, and that is the Commons development. And this event tonight is actually a part of the community engagement that our mayor and council constantly stress when it comes to the Commons development, because the one thing that they really want to see is community participation. Existing businesses or people who are desiring to open a business here in East Point, we want to be sure that there's every opportunity, at least for that business, to see if the Commons development is a home for them once everything goes into construction. So I think this is a wonderful event this evening. As I said, it plays right into the community engagement that mayor and council for the City of East Point desire for the project. And I'm sure over the next 5 years, because that's the anticipated length of construction for the development, over these next 5 years, I'm sure that there are going to be other events and other opportunities with respect to the Commons development here in the City of East Point. So thank you again to all of you for participating this evening, and I understand there are people watching online as well. So I believe this has been very informative and helpful for me as well, because I'm not really a finance person either. So this has been a good learning tool for me also. So thank you again.